To weigh in, we're joined right now by former Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell, who also served as the special envoy of Middle East peace under President Obama. A first on Fox Business interview. Senator Mitchell, thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Thanks for having me.
What's your reaction to these missiles from Iran this morning?
It's a matter of serious concern, and I think it will be taken up at the United Nations Security Council. The United States will pursue continuing sanctions on Iran over the missile violations of the UN Security Council resolution.
Does the U.S. need to do more or communicate that it's doing more, given the fact that this is not the first time that Iran is violating the rules that we just agreed to with this most recent nuclear agreement?
Well, pursuing action at the United Nations, increasing our own sanctions over missile actions, I think is aggressive action. I think we should continue to do so. I do not believe this in any way undermines or affects the U.S.-Iran agreement with Britain, France, Germany, China over the Iran nuclear program. The fact is, of course, that...
Why not, Senator? You could divorce those two issues? I mean, can you really separate?
Yes, of course. If you take the position that you have to solve every problem before you can solve any problem, you'd never solve anything. The fact is that since that agreement was reached, Iran has reduced its operating centrifuges by 2/3, reduced its enriched uranium by 98%, disabled a major reactor, and is subject to the most intrusive inspection program any country has ever faced. Iran will continue to take actions in the region adverse to our interests.
Yeah.
It's been a factor there for 2,500 years. It's going to continue to be a factor, and we have to oppose those actions. But the reality is that their actions will be less effective without a nuclear weapon than they would have been had they been pursuing a nuclear weapon.
Mayor Giuliani, weigh in here. You're headed to Israel. You're going to Israel next week? On Saturday?
Yeah, on Saturday, correct.
Okay, so a Palestinian man went on a stabbing rampage in Tel Aviv that left one person dead, 10 others wounded. The man killed was an American student and an Army veteran. Vice President Biden was in the region as well. Are we seeing a breakdown of Middle East relations?
You're seeing continuing breakdown of Middle Eastern relations. I think it's gotten much, much worse since the Arab Spring, since President Obama participated in the overthrow of Mubarak and participated in the overthrow of Gaddafi, which was absurd. Gaddafi was completely neutered. There was no reason to overthrow him, and now we have a terrorist haven there. And I also think, even though I hate to disagree with Senator Mitchell because I have so much respect for him, I think Iran cannot be trusted. I mean, they're like spitting in our face, and we're having an agreement with them, which I have no doubt they're going to cheat on. So I think we're being naive in having an agreement with them. I think the sanctions should be increased, the agreement should be abrogated, and we should say the heck with you, and we should go back to the sanctions that we had before and put their economy in the havoc that it was in before. And then maybe we can get a real agreement in which we stop them from not only having nuclear material but firing missiles. Missiles and nuclear material should not be in the hands of homicidal maniacs. And they are homicidal maniacs. They have killed millions of people. The Ayatollah is a mass murderer. I wish we would wake up to that.
Yeah. Senator, what about that?
Well, of course, the mayor says we should go back to the sanctions as they were before. There is no possibility of that. The agreement was not just between the United States and Iran. It was between the United States, China, Britain, France, Germany, and Russia.
But the U.S. led it. The U.S. led it.
The U.S. led it,
yes.
No doubt about it. But there's absolutely no doubt that universal sanctions are far more effective than unilateral sanctions, and that's what brought Iran to the table. And after the agreement was reached, all 5 of the other countries, China, Russia, Britain, France, and Germany, made clear they would not continue the sanctions if the United States rejected the agreement. So it's a fantasy to say, let's go back to the sanctions that existed before. Universal sanctions are what brought them to the table and forced them to effectively dismantle their program, and that's the reality.